So welcome, welcome. We are going to get rolling with the rock. The real agents of change are stepping into the 21st century with a lot of fun marketing pieces, a website that Danielle has been putting together on Kajabi that I wasn't even really, I mean, she's mentioned it, but I had no idea how brilliant she is. So I'll be sharing some stuff with you guys that you haven't seen before, some ideas and concepts that we haven't talked about before. And I'm just going to pop over and look at my agenda for a minute so that I make sure I keep us on track. So I want to explain to you guys, we have a whole list of ways to register for Zoom's role play Q&A that's coming up very soon. So let me just explain what I'm talking about. So we have been doing 30-day challenges for the last couple of months, and it's been a lot of fun to get feedback from people privately. I've had some open sessions with feedback and just kind of playing with what we want, what we don't want, what we need. And ultimately, we need to pick up the phone. We need to knock on doors. We need to have human interaction and get some donations to the table, as I'm sure you all would agree, for many different reasons. So in keeping with the triangle of trust, as we will call it, Bruce calls it the three-legged stool, but I like to think the triangle of trust sounds a little more, oh, I want to be in that. So the triangle of trust, nonprofits, donors, realtors. We are going to do some role play around each of these and other ancillary people that would go along with that. So for example, nonprofits are what they are. When it comes to talking about donors, why is charitable real estate so great for donors? If a donor wants us to speak with them about it, they need to hear why it's so great for them. Also with the donors would be fundraisers. So those fundraisers who are part of a nonprofit and say, well, why do we want to ask our donors for real estate instead of cash? And the financial service people, every one of us could, should, would have 2, 3, 5, 10, 50 financial service people that are helping us to get together with these donors. So when we start talking about the donor side of the triangle, the role play and the conversations and the Q&A that we will have will include any donors that want to hear about it, any financial service people, any fundraisers, and we're also going to start having some experts. So Bruce and Realty Gift Fund can't always be with us. Cami Baker can't always be here. So for example, Tiffany House is one of the brilliant experts who has been brought to our attention, who is the president of a Planned Giving Roundtable. It's hard to say that. Planned Giving Roundtable, and she is so brilliant. So she's going to be helping with that donor aspect. She brings other concepts that I just wouldn't think of. And then when it comes to the realtors, we're going to be doing role play around how to talk to realtors. If you're wanting to build a team, if you're wanting to have realtors around the country that can help support you, and also mortgage and title. Mortgage and title people need to know what we're doing for many different reasons, not the least of which is we can help them get in front of a lot of realtors as well. So I'm going to share with you a list of the role play and the Q&A that I'm talking about, because I know I'm getting ready to talk about 8 different times. One of them is the charitable, the certification classes once a month. 7 of these, including Bruce's Q&A on Wednesdays, makes 7 times a week that you can get exposure in some form or fashion to get support. But I think you'll see why it is that I've created it this way. So let me share my screen. Is it here? Is it there? Got a lot of stuff on here. Okay, so we've made a real simple, easy list. This list will be emailed to you every week. It will be posted in the private group. So first of all, we've got the 3rd Tuesday of every month, same time, same bat channel. If you go to this link, you can choose from 3 classes. The next one, and then the 2 after that. So there's always going to be at least 3 that you can go ahead and pre-register for. Makes it nice and easy. On Tuesdays at 1 and at 6 p.m., these are all Eastern time zones. You got to do your own math. 1 and 6 p.m., I'm going to come on and do the role play, and I'll talk about what that looks like in a minute. Even though each one of these has a different link, and it has to, there's no way for me to post my own link over and over again to have you guys register. And I need you to register for these so that I know when people are coming on, because if people aren't coming on that day, I'll go have lunch. So at 1 and at 6 p.m., we'll go for 30, 45 minutes of role play. And the role play might be something as simple as, you know, how to send a quick text and a voice message to a nonprofit. So for example, this starts tomorrow. So this week, we're going to be role playing nonprofits, how to start a conversation with the nonprofit, how to move them to the class, to a Q&A, to a one-on-one with Bruce, whatever it is. Next week, we're going to talk about role playing with donors and financial service people and fundraisers. How do you talk about why is this great for donors and how to move them over to a Q&A, etc. So we're going to play with this 1 and 6 p.m. because there's people all over the country, different work schedules. If it turns out that one of them is really popular and the other one sucks, then I'll get rid of it. Let me just, I apologize. Let me go over and make sure that I put us on record, because I have been known to forget to record. Okay, I did record, just making sure. Okay, Q&A with Bruce is still his same channel that it always was. We've got it actually down further. It's going to be on the list. So Thursday at 1 o'clock, Q&A for nonprofits. Thursday at 2 o'clock, Q&A for why people donate real estate, donors. Q&A at 3 o'clock is for the realtors, so that we have, and the reason why I'm breaking it down like this, I think you all can see it is a completely different conversation from a perspective and from a purpose and what's in it for them. Nonprofits need to know something completely different than real estate agents, and that's why we're breaking it out like this. And then we've still got Thursday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, is the strategy call with me. That is, for those of you who've been coming to that a lot, we spend a lot of time even just palling up and getting to know one another, but we do a lot of talking about strategy and cause marketing campaigns and who is it that you're wanting to get in front of and how to do that, etc. And then the office hours with Bruce. So when we are coming on these Zooms together, the simple fact is we need to pique people's interest, start the conversation, and we need to invite them to a further conversation, whether that is sending them something, and I'm going to show you some marketing pieces that Danielle has been helping me put together, whether it's inviting them to get on a call with Bruce. The reason why these Q&As as a group are really important, and look, I get it. Like if you've got the founder of Ronald McDonald House, and she just can't get on at 1 o'clock on Thursday, and we need to set up a one-on-one, that's fine. But don't prejudge people and start to decide who we should invite to the Q&A with others, who we should give royal treatment to on the side. The fact is, when that woman who runs Ronald McDonald House and the guy with the smallest nonprofit and just whoever, the Girl Scouts, when they're all on a call together, there's some fear of missing out. It's like, oh, wait a minute. Look at all these other people who are doing this. Oh boy, there's 10 people on here learning about this. It's social proof. It's fear of missing out. It's creating a tribe. It's hearing questions that somebody else just wouldn't have asked that they get now answered. So let's just try bring them to the group call. And if it needs to be one-on-one, just remember, Bruce only has so much time. Cami only has so much time. Other leaders are starting to appear in the group. Michael Jones, I'm going to talk to you guys about him in just a minute, that you can bring people to. But, we need to respect that people don't just have 10 hours every day for this. So in the peaking part, we're going to talk about just starting the conversation. For example, And this is if you know the person. We're going to focus on people that you know at first. Everybody wants to go send out an email to 100 nonprofits they don't know, and we can do that later. But right now, we're talking about picking up the phone or sending a message to somebody you know. Hey, Bill, I just heard about a nonprofit just like yours that received a check for $152,000 without a fundraiser. I'm not going to go through all these right now. I'm just giving you an example. Remember what Russell James says, story, 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 shut up. If you send that little text to Bill, a guy that runs a nonprofit that you know really well, and you shut up, and he responds, what are you talking about? How does that work? Who got a check for that much? Did they write a grant? Whatever he says, however he asks, he's inviting you to tell him more. That's wonderful. See, now we're not verbally vomiting on him. We're actually getting him engaged in a conversation. So we're going to role play this on Tuesdays at 1 and at 6. Once we've chatted with Bill for a little bit and he asks us all kinds of questions, we're going to learn how to just move him to a conversation. You know what? These are all great questions, Bill. I'll introduce you to the team that is making this happen for nonprofits like yours. Their next availability is Thursday at 1. Let me send you a link. Really, really simple, okay? So before I get into questions, if you got any questions, just hang on to them because we got a lot of stuff to get through. So this is the little system that we have together. Every week is going to be a different theme. And by the way, well, I'll leave the last theme for after you guys are a little acclimated. Okay, great. So let's get into what it looks like to actually send some messages to these folks. I want to show you some things that we have created. Everybody wants something to send to everyone. So let's keep it really simple. So for example, this is a simple roadmap that shows the pathway from the donation to Realty Gift Fund, from Realty Gift Fund to number 3, the Certified Charitable Real Estate Specialist. And look, some of this can be tweaked. You can see over at number 3, Certified Charitable Real Estate Specialist. We put a little crest there to show that's a certification. There's a little emblem there. That's going to be tweaked over time, etc. And then at number 4, it shows that the charity gets funded. And then down at number 5, the RAOC. The Real Agents of Change are creating cause marketing campaigns, helping you get media exposure, helping you get more donations, more listings, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So what we're doing is we're creating some really generic, basic marketing pieces because everybody wants this stuff, but there is a level of needing to customize depending on who we're talking to and what we're talking about. So for example, you'll notice on this one, it's the same form. Over here, now we have the photo, the headshot of the charitable real estate specialist. She threw my photo in, but it could be Tamisa's, it could be Ren's, it could be, Tamisa's, or whoever, right? Tisha's, with their contact information. So imagine if Tamisa had this. That's Tamisa's photo, her phone number, her email address. And now down at number 4, look at that. Parkinson's is getting funded. So in other words, if Tamisa and Parkinson's were partnered together and they were using this form, now people can really visualize, oh, okay, Tamisa's our realtor, Parkinson's is getting the money. Oh, okay, I'm putting the pieces together. So if it's a generic piece, we're going to give them to everyone who is a paid participant in the course/membership group. If you want something customized like this, Danielle will do that for you. You got to talk to her. Let her tell you. She might do 10 of these with Parkinson's and with Alzheimer's and with Girl Scouts and whoever else it is that you're wanting to talk to or partner with. So this is just an example of what we will be leveraging for marketing pieces. Another piece of marketing that we'll be sharing with you guys to give out nope, not that one, not yet. So we'll give you some really simple email. Once again, very generic. You can customize it all you want. This is, hey, Bill, I was just in a class, spoke about more and more nonprofits non-wide are getting big checks for over 6 figures without a traditional fundraiser or even adding new donors to their list. I love what you're doing for the veterans and immediately thought of you when I heard of this. Would you like to jump call and chat about it? Blah, blah, blah. So down here, we put in a couple of links to videos where they might be able to watch the video that I did with Russell James look, guys, if you haven't seen the video that Bruce and I did, we did it less than 2 weeks ago. It's edited with the logos on it and everything. It's professional, it's clean. It explains exactly how this works. So for you to just send that to people you know and pique their interest, that's something too. But this is just a basic email that could go to anyone that you know that's a nonprofit. Now let me get into this little fun addition. So we all know that Realty Gift Fund has already worked with, at least given a check to 30, 40 nonprofits that are listed on their website. So under stories, success stories or what have you, there's a whole list of some wonderful organizations whose logos and or name is right there. They've already done charitable real estate. So we're going to use Girl Scouts as an example. So what if you wanted to reach out to the Girl Scouts in your marketplace, and there's probably 500 of them all over the country. So what if you sent a message like this to and or picked up the phone to talk to the Girl Scouts in Minnesota or Arkansas, wherever you are? Subject, and this is just an example. You use it or don't, we don't care. We're just showing you that there's all kinds of different ways to do this. Subject, there is a $550,000 check with your organization's name on it. You got to get their attention. You got to get them to click, right? Happy spring, nonprofit. I am working with a team that has granted your organization a substantial donation over the last couple of years. We are working together to bring you more of these donations. The average amount is $550,000, so I wanted to introduce myself to you as your local connection, collaboration partner, and soon to be one of your organization's best friends. As you can see from this link, and we send them to Realty Gift Fund site, your organization has already been the recipient of a donation from the charitable gifting of real estate. Now that I am the local charitable real estate specialist here in Arizona, it would be my honor to work hand in hand with you to bring more to the table. Now, just an example, you can go over these later on. We're going to post all of these in the group for you to use. But imagine if you were to go to any, like Colorado radio station. In Colorado, the public radio station is one of RGF's clients as well. Now, we're not all going to call Colorado radio station. I'm not suggesting that you call anyone that's on their website. But what it shows is there is a public radio station in this country who's already smart enough to be a part of the awakening. And the fact is, every one of you have a radio station in your state, in your area, lots of them. So if you were to call your local public radio and or send an email exactly like this, pointing back to the fact that radio stations just like yours, see, or universities just like yours, see on the website, or homeless kitchens, soup kitchens just like yours, churches just like yours. So to leverage what we already have, one of our biggest holdups is everybody loves the idea, but they think they need to run this past their board. And look, everybody needs to be on the same page. Everybody needs to be excited. Everybody needs to be singing Kumbaya, and they shouldn't be doing anything behind their board's back. But the fact is, they are not accepting the real estate. What they're accepting is a check from Realty Gift Fund granted to them from the real estate that Realty Gift Fund took the risk to take on. So the board doesn't need to approve anything because they're not changing their board policies because they are not accepting real estate. So we want to get really clear on our language and our mindset here. What's happening is they are benefiting from donations of real estate. They are being granted funds that are the proceeds from a piece of real estate. So I just want to be clear about that. But these are just some examples, and I'm going to let Bruce talk about this in just a minute. Let me just finish my train of thought here. Okay, these are some other marketing pieces. What I want to share with you guys is a role play and script to pick up the phone and talk to people, an email to send to pick up the phone and talk to people, and a social media that we can send. So for example, here's a really simple social media piece. Funding your cause just got so much easier and smarter. Ask me how I can help. And then these little bullet points: grow your endowment sixfold, receive the proceeds from charitable gifts of real estate, partner with the specialist. Social media posts, very simple and generic. If you are flat out in love with animal causes and you want yours to be focused on animals and have pictures of animals on it, we can do that too. These are just generic for right now to give the idea. And there was one other thing on here. Oh, okay. So now let's say you made your phone call, your best friend who runs a nonprofit thinks this is a great idea. He or she came to our class, or they even just came to a Q&A, or they've already been on the phone with Bruce, and they're one of those people who says, what's next? What do we do? What are we going to do now? Well, we're providing some really generic things. So that same nonprofit that came to the class can use this as an email. For example, this is from the nonprofit to their donor. Special update for you, the heroes of our cause. You can put a little example about the cause. So thank you so much for partnering with us in the fight for animals. You are the heart of the cause. We all know suffering waits for no one. Our loved ones need the research to move faster. But this isn't a generic. In this email that we are sending, we're explaining to the donors. We've met some people who do charitable gifts of real estate, blah, blah, blah. And this is part of that email. Funding our cause just got easier and smarter. We've just partnered with a visionary team leading the charge in the charitable gifting of real estate movement. This team makes accepting the proceeds possible for us, blah, blah, blah. So this is an example of a campaign that will take us from what do I say to role play to phone call to connection with nonprofit to nonprofit saying, what do we do? To here's an email and a social media post, nonprofit. Now, nonprofit's probably going to say, well, yeah, but we're stopping human trafficking. That doesn't talk about human trafficking. Well, that's called a custom campaign. And we can help you with that, but we need to talk to you. We need to know more about it. So there's more for me to share, but I know that was a big blah. So I saw, Bruce, I saw you putting your finger up. I don't know if you were agreeing with me or wanting to stop me. Did you have something to add?
Well, it's hard to stop a train. That's for sure. I was agreeing with you. And I can't even remember what you were talking about then, but I was trying to nod and raise a finger at the same time. You know, you all, again, there's not as many of us on this call as I would like for there to be, but Cammie and I have been talking more and more seriously about how to get the results that we're seeking to get, that you all are seeking to get. the truth of the matter is that we've got Realty Gift Fund over the years has created relationships with many nonprofits, financial advisors, not so many donors, but we have done enough deals where we have some donors. And in the relationships that we have already, there are opportunities for you all to expand on that, such as the Colorado Public Radio and WHYY in Philadelphia. Those are two very stout NPR affiliates that have signed on after vetting us to the Realty Gift Fund program, which completely opens the door for all of you to call your local NPR station and just say, so you know, there are other NPR stations who are doing this. We think, you know, I'm calling you to be the person who can work with you to inspire you to join the movement. Because the bottom line here, which Cammie and I have been talking about, we've got some relationships already. We don't mind sharing some of those with you. But the whole goal, the whole purpose of this program is to add another 150, 200 relationships that we can have on our website. So just to build the critical mass, to build the law of gravity, to attract, you know, more and more people to the movement. And we would like to remind you that it does take cold calling. It does take reaching out to somebody you don't know. In many cases, Michael Jones is a terrific example of a guy who knows so many people who live in this space in all sectors of the three-legged stool, that I think he's found it rather comfortable to do that. And a few others of you have done the same thing. Others of you have not.
Let me introduce them to Michael real quick, because that's part of what I wanted to talk about tonight. So there are others that have been brought to the table that are not on Realty Gift Fund site. Now, first of all, I want every one of you to go to realtygiftfund.org and look through that list. And I want us to really put on our thinking noodle and not get hung up on, well, that church is in Colorado. Well, yeah, but it's a church. And if your church is in Atlanta, Arlene, because you know about 40 or 50 or 100 of them, every one of them needs to get an email or a message like that from you. Hey, go to this website, look at these churches that are getting funded. There's social proof right there, and that's what we need, is social proof. So on top of the ones that are on Realty Gift Fund is the ones that Michael Jones have brought to the table. Well, that was poor wording. Anyway, so Parkinson's.org is an example of one. They have right on Parkinson's.org now a page, thanks to Michael Jones, that says, hey, we now accept gifts of real estate. We're working with Realty Gift Fund. So Michael has a whole list, and I could show the list right now, but I'm going to let you talk about 3 minutes, Michael, about what you're doing, because what I'd like to do is suggest that 3, 4, 5 of you set up a time with Michael. So Michael's position in this is he's not a real estate agent. He's a real estate investor. He's very well connected. He's a professional businessman. But my point is, now that he's got Parkinson's to the table, the only way that a donation is going to happen is when a real estate agent lists and liquidates a donation that comes to the table. So for Michael's ability to talk to these nonprofits and get them to the table, he still needs real estate agents to list and liquidate them all over the country. He knows where they're located. He knows what towns they have different donation centers in, et cetera, et cetera. So for some of you to come together with him and start working, this will help him, you, Parkinson, us, and all the people with Parkinson's. So Michael, share with us a little bit about what you've been doing and how you'd like to partner with some real estate agents.
Well, I've been, excuse me one second. Sorry about that. I've been reaching out directly to nonprofits, just basically opening the door, talking to them about how they can accept charitable donations of real estate and just getting them interested in that. So to me, it's a win-win situation for everybody involved. So I'm happy to talk to anybody about that. Some people I've cold called, some people I've emailed and gotten responses from them. And then I get them interested enough to set up a next level call. And that's usually when I get Bruce on the line and we have a little bit more in-depth conversations with them. And fortunately, we have organizations at all different stages of that. They are kind of slow to move sometimes, and they have their misconceptions about things, and they have to get their board members, you know, a little bit more in tune to why it's really so easy. I try to keep it really simple, and they try to make it complicated. But we have, I've reached out to a lot of large organizations, and I've also reached out to a lot of local organizations. And every time I hear Bruce or Cammie talk about something, it's like, oh, I just thought of 3 more things that I'm like, why didn't I think of that before, of organizations I can reach out to. So I think one of the ways that I can help you is that if you are connected with anybody who's connected with a nonprofit, and probably you all are, at least one or more, or even if you know somebody that's connected, you could just say, I'm happy to get on the call, kind of like a pre-Bruce call to get them interested. If you need any help talking to an organization to get them interested in the idea, it may be a little bit less self-serving coming from me. For example, sometimes talking to the charity about donating real estate when you're, in the business of selling real estate. And that just might be a personal issue. You may or may not have an issue with that, but sometimes, somebody who's not trying to, has a vested interest in the outcome necessarily from their perspective, I'm coming at it almost as a representative of Realty Gift Fund. So it's a nonprofit talking to a nonprofit essentially, and they let their guard down pretty much in that scenario. So if you have anybody that you would like me to talk to, or even if you have a phone number, even if you get a name and a number or an email, I'm happy to reach out to them on your behalf. And then we can circle around and bring you back into the loop, about how we work as a team.
Well, and on some of these Thursday calls, Michael, if you'd like to step in at that 1 o'clock time for when we're inviting nonprofits, you've been talking about this long enough. You've been with us since the very first class. You might can step in as the expert, because we all want to be seen as the expert sometime.
I can make anybody
while
believe
Michael
anything.
is helping you to talk to the nonprofits, what I'd also like to suggest is, guys, talking to the nonprofits is great. But if we're not talking to donors, if we're not helping the nonprofits talk to donors, if we're not spreading the word that the nonprofit is now accepting or part of the movement, the awakening, as it were, then nothing's going to happen. So on top of talking to the nonprofits, you and Michael can work on, Parkinson's is just one example. Don't think we're just harping on that. It's just a beautiful, brilliant example. I love, Michael, how you mentioned reaching out to large nonprofits, because I just want to drop this pebble in the pond too. This is a good example. So many of us have a friend who started a nonprofit, and we want to bring that friend who just started her nonprofit a month ago, who doesn't have any followers, no budget, no funding, and we want to bring her along to the charitable gifting of real estate. And that's great. She needs to know about it. But here's the thing. If she has no followers, no donors, no email lists, no social media, it's kind of like the blind leading the blind. You're just kind of sitting together waiting for something to happen. If you really love her, reach out to the American Animal League or whatever, like something else, because Parkinson's, for example, has 500,000 followers on social media. They have 17 locations around the country. Every one of those 17 locations, when they start talking to people about, hey, we benefit from real estate, guess what every one of those areas needs? you need a real estate agent to sell the property that's donated in those areas. So if you really want to help your friends, focus on the bigger nonprofits that can help you spread the word and help you be seen as a charitable real estate specialist and have donors that can bring property to the table, because then we can help her a lot more. My point is, I get introduced sometimes to people who have a great heart, but no center of influence, no social media. And what we're wanting to do is really get the word out there so we can help everyone. And the best way to do that is to really go for the big guns like Michael's doing with Parkinson's. So Michael, do you have any last comment? Because I want to get on to the next thing.
I'm excited to see all the marketing material, because that's really the next step for these organizations. Once they say they're interested, it's like some of them don't really know how to move forward with it necessarily. And if we can give them something to sink their teeth into, I think that's going to go a long way.
Hey, let me add.
Well,
let
you're
me add
absolutely
one thing.
right. And everybody.
I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
Cammie. Let me just add one thing too about Michael and the work that we've done together so far. I mean, he has connected me to, I don't know, 12, 13, 14 different organizations, whether they're nonprofits or not. It has not always been successful, okay? Do not get discouraged. In fact, when someone says no to you, my colleague Jay Grab has a system by which he has become a very, very successful real estate broker. He makes a list on a Monday morning of 20 people he wants to call, and he keeps dialing until he gets 10 no's. When he gets 10 no's, he stops, okay? Because he knows within the calling to get 10 no's, he's gonna get one yes, okay? So Michael has had some pushback on a couple of organizations. Michael DeChavi's had pushback on a couple of organizations. I don't think any of the other ones have relayed to me that
Cammie has. Cammie does. Cammie gets pushed back.
Right. It's just, so don't think, I mean, Michael has been very, very productive, but he's had some problems, just like we all will. The other thing I'd like to mention, I want to comment on one of the things that Michael said. Michael comes to this as a nonprofit talking to a nonprofit, which takes the self-servingness part out of the equation. That's a very important thing, I think, Cammie, for us and Danielle, for us to remember when we're putting together marketing pieces that can help. We need to think that one through a little bit more, because the resistance level does go down. And then one thing I learned last week. I'm an old guy, but I still learn new things every week, okay? I learned last week, 65% of charitable donations of non-cash assets originate from a financial advisor. Really important thing to remember. Not something, we liked in the beginning, before we met Cammie, we liked focusing on nonprofits, because when I called National Jewish Health in Denver, they had 300,000 donors. I felt immediately connected to those 300,000 donors. But, I got to get through the group at National Jewish Health in order to get to those people. And they I've said to this before, they kind of drive in the slow lane. Financial advisors drive in the fast lane, and they make a lot of decisions with their clients about philanthropy. So I would be encouraging all of you to come up with a list, which is easy to do. You can just Google it in your market, top 10 financial advisors in my market, and I would be calling financial advisors too.
Amen. And another new statistic, but a lot of these donations also come from people who don't have children, and they don't know who they want to leave their stuff to. So we're also going to be reaching out to assisted, elderly homes and hospice and places like that. Guys, when you think about this, when Bruce was saying how we've had some pushback and whatever, look, the people who don't get it, don't get it. Don't worry about it. Some will, some won't, some wait. So what? Who cares? We aren't here to convince. We're not here to persuade. We're not here to handle objections. There's no objection. There's questions, there's education and information, but the people who are supposed to get it are supposed to get it. So even when we reach out to hospice places, this is not from the place of taking advantage. Like we were told by, I interviewed not Tiffany House, but Miranda Clementon. She runs a huge nonprofit. She used to work for hospice, and she said all the time people were in hospice, they had property, they're getting ready to pass away, and they're like, do you want this property? Like Jesus is here to take me, and I don't have any kids. Do you want this property? And the fact is, they would say no. They didn't know what to do with it. Or she said they had property that sat around for years because they just didn't know what to do with it. You have no idea how many hospice and assisted living places have property that they wish they knew someone like us to help them get rid of it. And think about it. When we help them get rid of it, the proceeds have to go to a nonprofit. And the nonprofit, or excuse me, the realtor has to get a full commission to make that happen. So this is about how can we help get even more of these properties into the hands of the right real estate agents so we can get the cash in the hands of the right nonprofits. Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, all those groups are going to bring in millions, hundreds of millions of dollars because we reached out to hospice and said, hey, have you ever been offered a piece of property? Now, that's not the first question we ask, but my point, you hear my point. Okay, great stuff. If you all could put your information in the chat. One of the P's we talk about is positioning. Every time you get on a Zoom, you should put your name and your email and your phone number over in the chat because you never know who's on here. And since Michael Jones is on here and we are suggesting that you all connect with him, you can connect with him on Facebook, on LinkedIn. You can do it right here. So let me just check my notes for a minute because there's a couple of, okay.
I also have a background in senior care, so talking to organizations like hospice. I also have a financial planning background, so talking to attorneys and financial planners, I'm happy to do that also.
Awesome. So let's have, Michael, let's have you get together with Tamisa, who's already put her information in here. Debbie out in Oregon, Washington, and Catherine, who is in Kansas, who may not be here, but she'll be watching the recording. They're all real estate agents with a focus on senior care. Guys, there's billions of dollars right here for us to help people with. Okay, so remember that. Third Tuesday of the month. Very simple now. Always the third Tuesday of the month. Every one of you have the right to bring 2 guests. Now, right now, you're all in our beta program, if you will. And the good news for you is you're grandfathered for life because I said so. But as we move forward, we won't be able to do that for everyone. Very soon, this huge real estate company that we're getting ready to make a big deal with, their people won't be in for life. They will be able to come to the class for a year. You guys can do it for the rest of your life. So take advantage of what we're doing here. So you can bring 2 guests. And now that we've let you know in the past, we let you know the day before, hey, by the way, who can you bring? But now you know. And that link, if your guests can't make it on April 20th, the next class, that's okay, because May and June are already in the pull down list. So if they say they can't make it in April, suggest May or June. Guess what? If they can't make May or June, they ain't interested. Move on. Don't chase people. Don't convince people. Invite out of the goodness of your heart that you have 2 VIP tickets, and you need to let them feel how special that is, how valuable the class is, and how valuable you are, and that you thought of them enough to invite them to this class. I want to talk about who to invite. Because back to our friend who just started her nonprofit a month ago, that's very sweet. We can invite her for sure. You can invite anybody. You invite your mommy if you want to. But there are people who sit on the board of American Cancer Society. There are people you know that are the president of the RIA group. Don't you think about that? Real Estate Investor Association. The RIA groups are all over this country. They have all the players of real estate in them. Half of them are nonprofits. The RIA groups who have bird doggers and wholesalers and real estate agents and attorneys and title companies and bed bug guys and landlords. They're a nonprofit. If anybody should be bringing in $1 billion a year, it's them, but they don't know about this, but they will through you. So think about calling the president of the RIA in your area. In Boston, there's at least 8 in a 40-mile radius of Boston. There's at least, and when I get back, anyway. So be thinking about who do you know that runs those groups for the financial advisors? Who do you know that owns Stewart Title all over the country? Who else would? Bruce says it all the time. Real estate agent, title company. Title company is the second most important professional as far as the transaction goes, because a lot of them are back to back. So remember that you can bring 2 guests. Bruce is working on the class, the test for the class. It's going to be 40, 50 questions that are all being taken straight from the class. Probably most of them will be multiple choice, maybe some true, false. But when you take the test and you pass it, paying the $200 or more if you're part of a bigger program, coming to a physical class and taking the test will get you a certification. No one's certified yet. In the beginning, we weren't going to certify until you did a deal, but now we're going to do the test, and that will get you certified. Once you're certified, you can start using the logos and the stamp and the certification and all that, which we're all creating right now. So just those are the 3 things that make you certified. If you bring a guest, if you bring a friend who's a real estate agent from across the country and she sits in, she can't get certified unless she at least pays the $200 and takes the test. So if they're a guest, they're a guest. They're not a certified charitable real estate agent until they pay the fee and take the test. And then they can start bringing their own guests as well. So I believe that's it for now. We are 10 minutes till the hour. What other things? Bruce, I see you got a question or a comment?
You know, I really, in a session like this where we've got some dedicated people here, I'd like to be sure that we get a chance for each of them to ask a question and raise an issue, by the way. You know, my office hours, which I open to everybody, which is first 3 Wednesdays of the month, it's been kind of a nice, joyous chance for us to get to know each other. What I'd like to start hearing, actually, from all of you who I respect, is this is the problem I am having. Because if we can help you work through your problems, which we have all had, we've all had the same problems. I want to hear what it is that is not working for you, okay? And so we can start with 1 or 2 of those now, and that's what my office hours should be from now on, because I just want to help you break through, you know, an easy wall.
By the way, office hours are closed this week because Bruce and I both are on a plane that day. Thursday, we are going to have the 3 Q&As that I talked about. I've got some people stepping in to help out. Michael, if you can help out with that as well on Thursday, since we're both going to be out of the country, that we'll talk about that offline. Questions, comments, hallucinations?
I think one of my biggest roadblocks has just been not having quite the confidence to be able to talk about it and know how it all comes together. But the more I listen each time, the more I glean, the more I get, the more, you know, confidence I get, whatever. And so just having a way to a process of leading them to the next step I find that to be very helpful. And so that roadblock is just not going to be there anymore. It's just one of those things.
Absolutely.
So I think I might get into more.
I knew that was going to come up, Debbie. I appreciate you saying that. That's why we're going to role play.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyhow, in any fashion that you receive it best, Debbie, just say it, okay? If role playing is not your thing, you know, doing gymnastics is, let us know. I'll do the best I can with you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Cammy can hula hoop with you. Cammy's got 100 ways to communicate with somebody.
Yeah.
But
she does.
You know, the confidence thing is a big thing. The confidence thing is, you know, we're not all born with confidence, and it's only through repetition. I've been presenting on real charitable gifts of real estate since for 20 years. You know, I finally got the hang of it. Okay. Yeah. So I don't expect you all to get it in 2 sessions.
Well, these sessions have been great. These learning sessions, they've been awesome.
Okay.
Well, like I've said before, when I first met Bruce, and he will attest to this, I could not say charitable gifting of real estate and realty gift fund in the same sentence. I just couldn't get it out of my mouth. And it takes a while to be able to do that. Bruce and I were talking about a week ago. He says he's never role played a day in his life. Well, you're looking at somebody right here that invested $1,000 a month for 4 years in a row with the Mike Ferry organization. And I've role played hundreds of thousands of phone. Michael's nodding his head because Michael Deshavi and I have role played years together in network marketing and real estate. So the good news is when we role play, we're not calling expireds and for sale by owners and trying to handle objections about our commission and all that garbage that we normally would role play. So I don't want you guys to get weird or icky about, oh, I don't want to role play. No. We're gonna talk through conversations, how to start the conversation. So to Bruce's point, repetition. Yeah, repetition of saying, hey, I just heard the most fascinating story. That nonprofit got a check for $152,000. We should talk.
Well, I practiced this week actually on my timeshare because we went in for one of those sales pitches, you know, and so we're major owners, so we get a lot, but I'm talking to people that make a fairly good amount of money. So I'm going, hey, have you heard about this? Want you to know more about this, blah, blah, blah. So I was just giving it all back to her, practicing.
Good. You can come on to office hours anytime you want, Debbie, and we'll just like go through it. Okay.
Okay. You got it.
Zoran asked the question. He said, will I be sending the links via email? Yes. And I'll also be posting it in the private group on Facebook. Danielle is going to make sure that that list gets out in an email to everybody once a week so that you have it. It'll be, yeah, you'll get that. Tish, what's up for you, girl? You're muted.
I'm typing away.
By the way, I just put the link to my Zoom room in there in case anyone doesn't have it. I mean, Cammy's got it. So.
Okay, Tish has a great point and a great question. She brought this up with me before, and I just want you to handle this for a second, Bruce. She says, if I'm reaching out and helping nonprofits in the area outside of my area and connecting them with Realty Gift Fund, and they do find a donor, how am I involved at that point? Part of the way we can have confidence is just to call it like it is. How's she going to get paid?
Well, okay, so I grew up in the brokerage business, and not always from the work that I did was I paid a commission for being the listing broker or the buyer's broker. I was often paid for being the referral agent to somebody, or, you know, in the world that I lived in with larger deals, There might be, hell, there were 4 brokers involved. Everyone got a 1.5 points. Everyone got something, but if Tish, in your circumstance, if the property is outside your market and we've hired a listing broker and that listing broker has, and the property sells because a buyer broker brings that to the listing broker and they're sharing a 6% fee, and we can get them to give you a little bit of something, but not quite enough to make you feel grateful, then we'll just add something, out of our pocket to make you feel like we've treated you fairly. I don't want anyone to ever do this kind of work and not feel that they have been treated in a grateful way, financially. Okay, we'll figure it out. We're actually really good at figuring that part out.
And we are creating a better back office CRM. So for example, right now, good old fashioned, every one of your names and phone numbers are in Bruce's phone connected to Cammie Baker, and that's kind of our old fashioned paper trail. But it won't be long, and Danielle is creating some really great stuff around this, where we will have in the back office, like a way for you to upload, hey, I just spoke to, the soup kitchen in Idaho. Like, like there'll be a way for us to follow it a little bit more. Because look, when we have 1,000 and 2,000 and 5,000 real agents of change in the group, and we're out talking to tens of thousands of nonprofits, et cetera, we're going to have a better system. But suffice it to say that you're with people who want to make sure. We want you to be happy because we want you to go do it again.
Yeah, and to take another step, Michael's introduced me to, how many people, 12, 13, 14. All of those people are in my contact file and they have Michael's name on it. Tamis has done the same. Chris has done the same. LaQuadro, Michael DeShavi's done the same. So for everybody who's introduced me to somebody, I've got that somebody in my contact file and that person's name connected to it. So it's like doing it in a brown paper bag at the moment, but it's there.
Yeah, well, because of the way I'm doing it, I'm going to be bringing people together from all over the country on a regular basis.
Good.
And this is going to come up. So just
Good.
like with those people that I brought to you from New Jersey,
Yes.
I don't, I can't, I don't know that if I keep doing enough of these, I can keep following up with them and saying, hey, did you find a donor yet? Did you find a donor yet? And do a real estate referral and get a referral fee. So, that was my big question. I'm like, okay, what do I need to be focusing on?
So Cammie, if I could, Tish, you raise a really, really good point. Okay. Mm-hmm. Because one of the reasons for this call was that we wanted to encourage people to keep doing these cold calls, reaching out, using your knowledge, in the comfort zone that you live in right now. Because believe me, as you do more of these, your comfort zone will become better. We want to add 150 people, 200 organizations to the list. But Tish raises a great point. It takes follow-up to actually get the ball from the red zone to the end zone. And, we can do the best we can, Cammie and I, but in fact, Chris and Michael have done a lot of the follow-up because there's just so many people to keep track of. And so if you've been the one who've introduced them to us, we would like for you to be the ones who say, these are the ones worth following up with, and I'm going to do that follow-up until I move the ball where it belongs.
Well, and let me also just say, Tish, the best way for you to get paid is to do it in your own neighborhood with the people that you know, the people that you want to know, the people that you'd like to be knowing, so that you can get listings in your own backyard. And we've talked about this before. We can talk about it more offline, but you know, it can be very exciting. Oh my God, I met so-and-so and they're out in this other state, you know, and we start reaching out to them. And Tish is also part of a huge network called Unblinded, and she does these role play things with them. Very cool. I highly recommend all of you contact her. It's because of her that I got in contact with some other really big people in the world. But for you, Tish, and she works for a nonprofit, and she's got a real estate agent, a real estate license. In your marketplace where you live, you can be getting listings, building resources and relationships and revenue from this in your marketplace. If I were working with you, I would coach you to just focus right where you're at, because when you've got 8 or 10 listings and you've got a donation or two in your own backyard that you're already listed with, you've got 3 or 4 in escrow and things are there and you're flowing, you won't be so worried about where it's coming from. You'll just be in that flow of abundance, and you'll just know that it's all
A
gonna
lot
come.
of the local associations are connected with larger ones.
Right. That's true.
But Tish, if you go to Realty Gift Fund's website and you see that whole list of all those nonprofits that are already proven social proof on their website to already have participated in the charitable gifting of real estate. I'm just using Girl Scouts as an example. You could reach out to the Girl Scouts in your area. You could reach out to the universities by the dozens in your area. You could reach out to the homeless shelters in your area, etc., pointing back to Realty Gift Fund. Look, your organization's already done this before. Groups just like yours are doing it all the time. Let's talk about how we can do it in our own neighborhood. Look at this website. Oh my God, this is an awakening. You're missing out.
Yeah, it's not only the list of names on our website, but it's the list of categories on our website. So if you go to the list and you look at food banks, you're not going to recognize any of those names, but everyone knows what a food bank is. So if you go to your local large food bank, then, you know, you can say food banks around America are tapping into this, blah, blah, blah. And it's just, you know, it's just a way for you to build comfort. So, so I've got the Zags winning by 5 points tonight. I don't know what anybody else has got.
It's a zag.
I don't know how many people saw the semifinal game between Gonzaga and UCLA with a buzzer beater cast from half court off the backboard, swish into the net to win the game by 3 points. But we're looking for a good game tonight, guys. 7:15, not Mountain Time. I know you're all dying to go.
All right, we are going to go, but we are here for you. This recording is going to go in the private group, and as of tomorrow, if you want to click on those links that are in what I'm getting ready to send out tomorrow at 1, tomorrow at 6, role play. Come on and play with me. Come on and just talk it out. Just step on your tongue. Just screw it up like I did. I couldn't say charitable gifting of real estate in one sentence, I'm telling you, but I can now. So let's talk about it. See you guys tomorrow or Thursday or next week or whenever it is. Bye.
Bye, y'all.